dead, and it gives me great joy to do it because I'm serving. And then I realised that 30% of Americans are on antidepressants because they're accumulating things which they think, because of advertising, will make them happy, and then they're into navel-gazing, like, should I put a ring on it, or what about a tattoo around it? Doesn't do any good. You have to lift your soul, not your face. And if you help me, we will have the third American Revolution in 5 years. We'll end the nuclear age and we can die with relative peace of mind. And I guarantee I know how to do it, and we'll do it together. So thank you very much.
You were funnier than Michael Moore. God bless
that's
you.
a very big
Oh,
compliment.
you're such a dear heart. You're our Joan of Arc.
You scared the shit out of me.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, fear is a motivating thing, you know, and we need it.
Everyone should have this shit scared out of them.
I'm like ready to quit my job and come work for you. And I'm telling you, half the people in this room are ready to come work with you.
If 1,000 people come out to hear me one night and give up their evening, and I turn them on so they're never the same again, I find that tremendously fulfilling, like spending a day in a cystic fibrosis clinic looking after my patients. I love that. Hello, editor. How are the sales going? Do you have any notion? Right. We sold about 130 last night. Yeah. But the other thing is, what's happening with David Unger at the New York Times? Oh, too bad.
It's not selling on the strength of reviews. I would have thought a new book by Helen Caldicott would have, been a front page Times book review, especially in this day and age. And, far from it, we were able to get reviews of all of our lead titles, save Helen Caldicott's book, for reasons that elude me. I think that the media still doesn't think there's an audience for what she has to say.
3 zermürbende Wochen später straften die Medien Helen noch immer mit Nichtbeachtung. Aber die Unterstützung an der Basis wuchs. Als wir in Washington D.C. eintrafen, bombardierte Bush Afghanistan. Und Helen bereitete sich unerschrocken darauf vor, auf einer riesigen Kundgebung zu sprechen. Das Ausmaß der ganzen Sache hatte mich umgehauen.
God, you never get this tired. What are you doing to me? It's called saving the world.
It should just be a dance in the park.
Oh, yeah? Must be bloody joking. I'm going to talk about the real rogue nation today. This country, America, is a true rogue state. They're going to put weapons of mass destruction in space. Cheney is a wicked man. Rumsfeld is a wicked man. And the way they're going now, they're going to start a massive new nuclear arms race, which will lead inevitably to nuclear war. This is the country that's a rogue state, and that's the symbol of it. See that symbol? That's missile envy. That's what America's about. Phalluses, testosterone, and blowing up the planet.
Missile Envy hatte Helen in den frühen 80ern zu einer Talkshow-Berühmtheit gemacht.
The language they use is very psychosexual, like missile erector, soft laydown, deep penetration, hardline and softline. I mean, I think it's got a lot to do with men proving their virility.
Mir hat ihre Kühnheit immer gefallen, aber ich begann mir Fragen zu stellen und zu zweifeln. Helen benutzte die gleichen alten Polaritäten wie ihre rechten Widersacher. Männlich-weiblich, gut-böse, wir-sie. Schwächte Helen damit nicht ihr Anliegen?
Hen, I think you're right. That's why I'm making this film. I'm worried about your manner. Do you think there's an element of people not being able to cope with being lectured at as if they are naughty children in a family?
I'm not lecturing the audience. I'm talking about the people who are exposing us all to danger.
Yeah, but do you think it's appropriate, that idea that they are little boys and should and that your tone, which is often like it's like a lecturing mother.
Yeah, that's right.
You're like an angry mother.
They need discipline. As I read out the psychological definition of many of these characters, they're little boys.
It's irreverent.
Why don't give us stuff that's... I mean, if we pedestalise these characters with stars and stripes all over them, and they're planning to blow up the world, what are we doing?
You reject any accusation of stridency, and yet I agree. I think sometimes you are too much. You're too shrill. You're too kind of... You sit there going, hang on.
That pisses me off. Look, I use everything I've got to get into their bellies and their guts. And if I have to use that, I will. And people say, but how do I get my friends to understand? Sometimes it's appropriate to scream at them, to show your passion. I mean, how do you get them to drop their psychic numbing and say, I don't want to think about it? I'm going to be suicidal. Well, if the kids die, too bad. How do you do it? It's a huge thing to take on, huge. And I use everything in my armoury. And I can't stand being called shrill. It's a sexist thing. It's like being called hysterical. Hyster means uterus. And it's revolting.
Die unerschütterliche Überzeugung meiner Tante frustriert mich, aber sie führt zu Ergebnissen. Am letzten Tag unserer Reise hatte sie schließlich Erfolg. Wertvolle 7,5 Minuten lang konnte sie vor einem Millionenpublikum mit ihrem Erzfeind streiten.
Squaring off, world-renowned anti-nuclear activist Dr. Helen Caldicott and Frank Gaffney, president of the Center for Security Policy.
Unlike Helen, who, as with many of her friends, thinks that we mustn't, under any circumstances, defend ourselves against missile attack, I believe we need to defend against that as well as these other very serious problems.
Frank, every credible scientist knows that Star Wars will not work, and indeed the Pentagon... No, don't tell me I'm talking rubbish, please. If you put up a 5-layered Star Wars system, Frank, which is what I wrote about in The New Nuclear Danger, you're not going to stop terrorists bringing nuclear weapons into New York Harbour. You're not going to stop a small plane with a nuclear weapon on it. In fact, Star Wars isn't going to do one thing for terrorists, because they're smarter than that.
Frank, how do you respond?
It is in our Constitution, Helen, that we must provide for the common defense. George Bush is trying to do that, and I think he enjoys the overwhelming support of Americans who want to be defended.
Während eines kurzen Weihnachtsaufenthaltes zu Hause machte ich Bestandsaufnahme. Eine Menge Freiwillige hatten sich auf Helens Website gemeldet. Aber ihr Institut war immer noch nicht finanziert, ihr Buch war noch nicht besprochen und die amerikanische Kriegsmaschine wechselte von Bin Laden zu Saddam. Aber meine Tante blieb optimistisch, ich konnte es nicht verstehen.
Do you realistically think in 5 years you'll turn around and say, there you go, we did it?
You bloody bet.
Really?
Of course. If I thought like that and I was a pessimist or a skeptic, I'd never have achieved what I've achieved.
It's almost like people have become used to it and accepted it. Being children of the atomic age, what can we do?
Do you mean the world is sick, Anna?
Yeah, the world is sick.
Well, I don't believe that. You've got a pessimistic approach and I've got an optimistic approach, and I'm a healer. And I'm out to heal.